Hey, how are you? Happy Saturday night, everyone. Hope you're having a good night. I know this is unusual. I'm coming on late night, but you know what? I figure let's just go with it. Let me get my self going. Hi. So I changed up some of my camera stuff, so I hope this kind of works out for tonight. Anyways, so it's like, why am I late night crafting? Why not? How many of us kind of do a little bit here and there? I don't do way too late at night. This is as late as I usually go. But I was inspired, I was in the mood, and we're going with it. So here's all the colors I'm using that we're kind of curious. I've got Daffodil Delight, Cajun Craze, Pacific Point. I know it's old, but it's the blue I have. Misty Moonlight, Early Espresso. Anyway, so I posted earlier in the week a question of a poll of what card theme to do next. So Walkway was the phrase that came through. So, and I'm using the Notes and Totes bundle, which I think is really, really cool. And we're going to dive in. So I'm going to jump right in. Let's do this. It's a little messy, this project, but I think it's really cool. And there's no DSP involved in this, which this card is my favorite. So I have here a piece of watercolor paper, our watercolor paper. For life of me, I had my instructions here. Let me find the size because I did write out some of these notes. This was 2 3/4 by 4. So I'm going to use watercolor with these three colors to create a scene. Now, first step, let me put those outside. This water spritzer of ours, I'm just going to use this to already soak this piece of paper because I like it wet to be able to pull this off. So I'm just going to give it a good spray. Pretty wet's good. I think that's pretty good. And then cap that, and then our blending brush. Now here's the fun part. I only have one. I only have one of these. So here's how I can show you how to pull this off using just one brush and three colors. Start with the lightest. I use the Daffodil Delight. Get some good yellow on there. Now because this already soaked ahead of time as well. This is wet as well, and that's wet. When you first start going at it, it's going to be a little hard to work with because it's still wet. But as it starts to dry off, it gets easier and it nicely blends out the color a lot better versus if you're doing it dry blending brushing. So I'm creating a sun here on the right hand side. Hope you guys like it. Alright, so that's good enough to start. I can always come back later and add some more. So cap that. And then I'm going to bring in the next color, which is Pacific Point. So it's good to start from light to dark when you're using supplies that you may not have. So I'm just going to go right into it with the Pacific Point. And you can tell I'm creating like a sky look here, which I think is going to look really, really cool. And you can see how well it's taking it with the paper and the brush being wet, eh? Like, you know how a lot of us, we start off the paper and then we come on? No, like, this is taking it super, super well. I kind of discovered this on the Fluke a few months ago, and I'm like, okay, I love doing this technique. So, here we go. You can go as light or as dark as you want. I'm still going to use some more here. And this is a great way to do your own backgrounds if you don't have DSP at times. Like, I have limited quantities of DSP, so, but this, I just love this card, I really do. And I can say it all night, I love this card. Alright, so that's pretty good, actually. Alright, and then now that yellow's had a little bit of time to dry off a little, I'm just going to rub off on this is like really crappy grid paper because this is like super messy. I can come back with the yellow, and if I'm worried about the color, I'm just going to use the edge of the brush to grab some of that yellow to come back in to make my sun a little brighter. There we go. Now the third color we're using in this is Misty Moonlight. And it's going to come in on this, and I'm just going to do right across the bottom where I'm trying to create like a bit of a water look to it. We got the sun, the sky, the water, because I'm a very nautical kind of person. And given that the Notes and Totes bundle kind of has a hint of like a beach kind of feel. So, and there we go. Done. So let that dry. Now, in the sake of time, I've already have one of these prepped, so I'm just going to wipe this, clean that later with soap and water. So I'm just going to put this off to the side because I'll use this for something else. Put that off to the side because that's now wet. Check my table. It's not too bad. Throw that away. So let me grab another piece of paper because I'm just using these really crappy grid papers for tonight because I do have the good stuff somewhere else, but somewhere else. So here's one I already did ahead tonight. A little darker, but still looks really good. But hey, each time you can get something a little differently. So just to kind of show what we've done with this. Now, I'm going to put this off to the side for now. I already prepped out this die with the die cuts. So let me pull in all these little pieces. And I'll explain this in a moment. So I ran this die 4 times. There's actually a couple extra pieces there because I already did one of these half partially already. So I ran this die with the very vanilla paper 4 times because I want several of these strips, preferably the thicker strips. The thin ones I don't need so much. All right, so the next up is take another piece of very vanilla, which is this. This is cut at 3x4, okay? And I'm gonna jump ahead one more moment. I have this piece of very vanilla again. It's 3.5 by 1. I'm just gonna jump in and stamp this with the phrase from the Notes and Toads bundle. Relax and enjoy. I want to do this with early espresso because next step's gonna get a little messy again in a little bit. So I get that stamped now before I totally forget and be like, oh yeah, I gotta do that. So relax and enjoy. Kind of center as best you can. It may not turn out exactly centered, but I'm rolling with it. I'm just gonna clean that stamp before I totally forget. And if there's comments tonight, ladies, I'll catch up after. Facebook's not telling me comments lately. So it is what it is, you know. Alright, so then this is gonna get interesting. So I want the 4-inch on the bottom, 3 inches is upward, and I'm gonna take all these pieces, not all, a good chunk of these pieces, and build like a walkway. So I'll do a couple rows so you can get the general idea. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of some adhesive, whichever adhesive you want to use. I just did 3 little pieces to start. And then this doesn't go fully all the way across because this die is a little smaller. And I'm just going to add a little more adhesive. And just, you know, tile it on one at a time. Like so. Hope you guys can see this because this will be really cool later. And as I go, take my snips and cut the excess off. And keep going. That way each row is uniquely different. So I'll do a few rows so you get the idea. I may or may not do the whole thing because I'm used to doing this all the time. Maybe I'll do the whole thing. Why not? Doesn't take too long. Alright. Because normally in my own videos, I'll just put more adhesive on here. I go all in. I will do a card, start to scratch of all the steps, the die cutting, the everything. But I get it that on here, it's not always so possible. So I do try, I do have this piece stepped out if need be. Well, let's kind of go for a few minutes, see how long it's going to take me. But yeah, more or less like that, and just keep going. This is the walkway theme that I've hinted to. So that's why you need like at least 4 rounds of that die to be able to pull this off. But I think it's really, really cool. And there's more we'll be doing with this as well. Yeah, I'm just going to go all in and do it. There's a little hint to some of my crafting style that I do over on my own Facebook Lives, usually. I know it's so weird I came on here so late at night, but I'm like, I'm in the mood. Let's do it. And also, to be honest, I've been really nervous being your creative ambassador for this month. So this was a good chance that I had the mood, I had the inspiration. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna kick. So I was gonna flip over, trim that side off. I'm just gonna kick myself and do this and get it done. So there we go. Yeah, I'm almost done. I thought this was gonna take longer, but this is pretty quick. If you do like a full background like this, it does take a while. And I do this kind of thing a lot actually. Alright, so there we go. So we got that. So doesn't that look really, really neat? Like a neat wood grain look to it. So I'll flip over, trim that off, and then take one of these and just kind of trim one kind of in half. And on the back side, take some adhesive, like so, and then just kind of lay some on. That way it's like a bit of a deck poking out, like so. Of course, the one's shorter than the other. Of course it is. Alright, let me pull that up a little more. Might be a little crooked, but that's okay. There we go. So there's this. And then a couple extra pieces. We might need one after, but we'll see. So there. Next step. Now this is going to be really interesting. Is you're probably thinking like very vanilla. It's kind of a plain color. There's not a lot of life to it, eh? Well, that's where the early espresso and the Cajun craze is going to come in. This is pretty cool what we're going to do next. So and it's actually easier to use the smaller ink pads and just scrape across your wood grain. And it's okay if some of the pieces kind of come up a little. It's totally okay. It just makes it look really, really cool. But yeah, literally go scrape across with your ink pad and you get this really cool wood grain. And I love this technique. And then when you do the one color, flip off to another brown. So I'm just using tonight. Oh, this one's not even open. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to have to open that one right now. I'm just looking for something I can use to open it. Actually, let me just quickly peel here. I have another one that's open. It's somewhere else. It's all good. It's all golden. Makes it more interesting. Advice for opening these things. They're always a pain in the butt. At least they are for me, but that's okay. Just want to get at least enough of it open. It's probably a good thing that I'll be using a fresh one versus my early espressos. That one's a little rough. Gotta love camera fails or video fails, you know. Keeps it interesting. Alright, there we go. Alright, there we go. We got it open. So then again, same thing. Go over with the Cajun Craze or whatever other color of your choice. Copper clay looked pretty good when I did one of these already. But now you can see this color really coming through with the mixed wood. And make sure you get the little 2 tabs at the top too. But doesn't that just look really, really cool? As a neat wood grain look. And I'm just going to come back in with the early espresso again. Just give it a little more of the dark. You can go as heavy or as light as you want. I just love this technique. But it's a great way of using that wood grain dye and making some really creative stuff with it. So there we go. There's our wood grain. Super, super cool, eh? And because of the very vanilla peeks through, it's not so bad. So there we go. That is super cool. Now this can get a little messy, so I'm just going to put that off to the side again. Bye-bye. So let's bring in our components. And actually, by the time I got that done, how is this one is almost dry actually. So that's actually kind of good. I had a stepped out version in case I needed it, but I don't really need it. Alright, so now we're going to start assembling our cards. Careful if you got any ink elsewhere. I'm going to use white cardstock to do my card base. So here we go. Just a piece of white cardstock kicking around. Oops. Fold in half. bone folder, which I have here, way out of view, because I rearranged my desk earlier today, and it's not totally functional. I gotta tweak it a little more later, another day. So score that pretty good. Flip over. I'm just gonna look at my original for a sec. So then next is the use of dimensionals. So this goes on with dimensionals. So let's do it. Where's my dimensionals? Actually, that one went a little too much on the edge there. There we go. Yeah, I made sure I had extra this, extra that half done in case I just needed to. And feel free to use some extra dimensionals to really help fill in the border a little better, to help it stay in place, because it's going to need it. There we go. I guess I'll put one in the center. Why not? Lots of dimensionals. So then peel off all the white caps. Alrighty, so then flip over, stick that on the top, relatively 1/4 inch border as normal. So there we go. Yeah, sorry, my camera, new camera is kind of a bit of a, has a really wide angle, so things look a little fishtaily, to be honest, with how it is. And then this goes on top. So depending on how you do the Misty Moonlight, it is what it is. So that's going to go on top with dimensionals. And including up in this section, the little two, tabs there, the bit of the border, like so. And then that way, to kind of hope it stays on, I'm just using it as a guide to see where to put down here the rest of the dimensional, so it's not too overlappy, if that makes any sense. And then this one's pretty thick because I've got, more than one layer of paper on there. So I'm just going to peel off the white caps. It's actually a pretty easy card once you kind of know what you're doing with the technique and all. Alright, so flip over, bring this in. So again, kind of sort of overlap on the other 1/4 inch. There we go. Doesn't that look pretty cool? So then, take one of these, still leftover pieces from the die cuts, essentially cut it like 3/4 kind of thing. And that's going to get glued on, the center. Use whichever adhesive you want to use. I wouldn't use dimensionals though, personally. I'm just going to use my Seal Plus. Kind of sort of centered. Like so. And then we did this earlier. The Relax and Enjoy is going to go on with dimensionals. Use as many as you need, or change as much as you want with this design. And just put that there, more or less. Okay. And then lastly, I forgot to mention, I also used Calypso Coral with watercolor paper to get that color, because I didn't have that color, and I did the same thing with Daffodil Delight, just to get the die cut, the starfish, and the shell. And they're going to go on here with dimensionals, like so. That way it's got like a bit of a beachy theme happening, which I think is really, really cool. Alrighty, and then I'm gonna cut a little teeny tiny piece of a dimensional. For the starfish. And then Let's see where we're at. And then there we go. My card is finished. This is what I went with. I love this card. It's simple with a lot bit cool technique and coloring, and as well, no DSP. And I don't need bling personally, but you can use bling if you want. Here's another one I made, same thing more or less. And then here is another one I made in preparation using just scraps of wood like paper using that same dye. That way I don't have to do the color with the inks, which looks really, really cool. And then lastly, the original one I made was this, and I used the thinner pieces and I didn't like it. And then this sailboat is from the, I think it's Over the Moon stamp set. I know it's retired, but still, you can also do something different within the background of the watercolor stuff. So there we go. That is the card. I hope you, I've done a few of them, as you can see. I love this card, I really do. It's my favorite. So with that, everyone, thanks for watching. I challenge you, use that wood grain dye, come up with something. So that is my challenge for the week, unofficial challenge. I'm not sure if Jen's going to count it as an official challenge for the month of May. But yeah, use this wood grain for something really cool. Whether it's this or something totally different. Try it out. I think you'll love it. Alright, thanks for watching, everyone. And I'll catch up on any comments after. And I'll be back next weekend with another project from the Notes and Totes bundle. I'll post a poll sometime this week asking between two DSPs, what would you like to see? Alrighty, see ya. Bye.